can save me, I don't mind.
And welcome to another day. And a new week, I take it. We are progressing along on the Allmand project. It has been a long and trying one, but finally it's one point here where we feel like we're really making some progress. The wiring is done. Today I am moving on to other things, but at the same time taking a couple steps back. One of the things I need to do is I need to put a hanger down here. I don't like how long this is. It's going to sag over some time, and we don't want that, so may want it to sag a little bit up there by the alternator, but that's another story entirely. I'm going to get our batteries out, get them hooked up. I'm going to try to figure out what side of the starter's terminal, and before I can do that, I need to set the distributor. So there's a few things on the list to do. It's a little later in the afternoon here. I'm hoping the sun goes down because, again, it's a blistering hot day. And once that sun goes behind that tree a little bit over there, it'll be a whole lot nicer. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
If you just wanna hate me, it's alright, yeah. If you think you can play me, see, I don't mind. If you just wanna change me, see, it's alright. And I don't mind. If you're just trying to change me, it's alright. If you think you can save me, and I don't mind, yeah. When you try to control me, see, it's all good. But don't think you can hold me, I don't mind. If you're so wrapped up in a little bit of honey.
We went ahead and set the coil, got it wired up, and we set the distributor, and the darn oil pump lined up, and the distributor set exactly the way I want it. It's always a challenge, but it's worth, getting that last tooth in place, because that way everything isn't all cocked to one side or the other, because we already had it built in the garage, so it needed to go back exactly the way it was, so it looks exactly the way it did. But it's in. It's locked down in number one position, and we'll find out how close that is to number one position when we spin this motor over. We went ahead and installed our batteries, and we're going to turn one of them on for the first time here. We've had it hooked up to a jump box, the main line running up to the dashboard, which now is hooked up to the starter back here. But we've never had it hooked up. This is its power source from now on. So, but we're going to flip on one battery here. Listen for any sizzles. Don't think I heard anything. Now the next thing is this. We have this starter down here, which came with no instructions, and it has terminals on both sides, and it wouldn't be that bad if they locked down both sides, or locked down one side and left one loose, and that's the side you're supposed to go for. Well, they leave both of them loose, and they both have nuts on them for wiring. I guess one's a ground, the other one's a positive for the starter and for the key to go to the solenoid. I have it hooked up the way I think it should be. I'm about to hit the key, or the switch here, to see if it's true, and fingers are crossed. And it's nothing. Huh. Well, we'll have to try the other side. Alright, we're on the inside stud. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that works. Boy, all the bolts are coming off of this thing. Alright, so I got a couple minutes to tighten some things down, and we're going to finish this starter off. Not really sure what's going on over here. I'll have to take a look at my battery switch. The only time it works is with both batteries on. Not sure what the deal is, so I'll pull it off the wall, make sure everything behind it's wired up correctly. If it's not, we'll fix it, and if it is, then we'll have to replace that.
It's alright, yeah. I've learned to live with the white lies, and it's all good. Learned to live with the white lines.
Not really sure what was happening there. Seems to work fine now. Took it off, tested both sides, took batteries off, tested them, blah blah blah, whole 9 yards. Everything seems to work perfectly. Maybe there's just too much diametric grease on it. I don't know. Just need to be flipped around a few times. But with that done, I'm hot and sweaty, and the mosquitoes are out. So that means that I am now bait. And I would prefer to keep all the blood that I actually have still left in my body. So we are going to call this an evening. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Welcome to another day. It is pretty nice to see all of this sitting in here, that's for sure. But there's still a few pieces missing, so we're going to have to get on it here. We're just kind of waiting it out at the moment. It's an extremely hot and humid day. More humid than hot, but still, it's one of those days where you feel every breath, you know, that kind of thing. We are in the process of taking on another major project here, which would be the exhaust manifolds. We've already done an insane amount of work to these guys, as we've already shown in the videos, and they're pretty prepped up and ready to go. Still got to put our elbows in. I didn't want to do that, being they're plastic. I'm afraid that they were going to get broken by, you know, these sitting on them and getting pushed around, and just things happen. So they stayed out until the last moment, which is almost now.
It's all wrapped up in a little bit of honey.
Well, there was our first attempt. Didn't go as planned, but it finally did succeed. I was a little worried about it. I couldn't understand what was going on. As I said, these are cast, but the same exact manifolds castings went on in aluminum on this motor. So there shouldn't have been a problem when we were having a lot of problems. I think we got those figured out. Now I just got to get the elbow put in the bottom. I didn't do that. There isn't enough room over here to do that after the fact. So they have to go in first. So it had to come back out no matter what. And then of course I got to shorten these bolts or it's just going to flop around anyway.
Trying to change me, it's alright. If you think you can save me, and I don't mind it. When you try to control me, say it's all good. Don't think you can hold me, I don't mind. If it's all wrapped up in a little bit of honey. On the inside, and it's alright, yeah. I've learned to live with the white lies, and it's all good. Learned to live with the white lines, I don't mind. 'Cause it's all wrapped up in a little bit of honey.
Both exhaust manifolds are installed. Went ahead and put our wiring on. Got to get another spark plug to replace the one that I broke, but I put a temporary one in there. It's just a little different. I'd rather start off with a complete set of exact the same. So we will be making an order for them. And I don't know, I'm just kind of looking at this and going, I got a bit of a mess here. I kind of had every intention on doing exhaust one way, but you know how intentions go. The best of them go flying right out the window. I've got two of these guys here. This is a shorter one. I was just kind of fooling around with it a little bit. And yeah, they're leaning also, so don't get excited. They need to kind of come back just like that. And that kind of gets into this bump out right here. So we can't have that. Our exhaust has a trim ring and a 4-inch hole itself. So it's got to be below that bump. And neither one of our exhaust systems kind of working. Now this one would a little bit, but as I said, it's also leaning real bad. But then you'd end up with a hot spot up here because the water would not be going over top of this part here and coming out, because this is where it comes from. It's only the one hole here, and it comes out and it hits this and then sprays out over top the exhaust as it comes out. And if you got this blocked like that, the only way the water is, it's going to hit this and then it's going to go around here and then run out, and that's not what you want to do. So I am in the market for some S-turns. Didn't really want to do it, but I really don't have another option. I mean, if I use the smaller one, I still got the same issues. It comes out right about where, you know, that comes out. The reason that one's doing, if you put this one on, it's worse because the manifolds are offset from one another. In other words, this one sits forward and this one sits back. So that one's a little bit more to play with than this one. It's just, long story short, S's have to be installed no matter what. I mean, it's just, oh well, it is what it is. But didn't think it was going to end up being perfect right out of the box. We also have come to the conclusion that our oil stand sits way too high. I kind of figured it did. I built the stand not really taking into play to how much of this is here, and it would have worked perfectly if it was one of the normal ones. It would have came out perfect, but it needs to take off about 3 inches. So we're going to do that also while we have things apart. And yeah, we'll drop this whole thing down. I was going to, don't look at my little frame oil filter, that's just for startup and you know, the initial, let's make sure everything's running right. I'll trade over to that Wix over there. I just didn't want to use it right out of the box and have it catch. I don't know, I kind of treating it like it's a rebuild, but it's not even a rebuild. It's just has been sitting for a little while. So this is where we're at right now. We're still trying to figure, and we're doing a lot of figuring back and forth. As I said, we are changing our stand around, and we're really kind of debating on what we're doing about this. I'm going to look tonight for this guy here, a matching one, if I can find it, because I bought a single one and then I bought one of them, and I had 2 different ones. So I just randomly bought another one of them because they had a bunch of singles for sale for some reason, and it matched whatever one it matched. I said, okay, I got the matching set now. So, but they were extremely cheap, so I think probably somebody already snatched up on the rest of them, but we'll find out. And I don't know, the debate on whether I want to go with the lower ones or the higher ones.
No. You feel alone. You see, you're not alone, no. I know you're not alone.
Okay, we'll hang it up for the final time. We have shortened our bracket And yes, it is short. We'll see if it's the right size tomorrow, because I haven't fit anything because I closed the boat up. We had some weather kind of moving through, as you can hear in the background now, and we started to get a little bit of a sprinkle, and I was like, you know what, I got this bracket to fix anyway, so closed the boat up and proceeded to fix this bracket. And it is now 8:15, so we are going to call it a night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Welcome to another day. Well, we need to grab our little bracket here. Come on, there we go. And we need to come out here and install it. I'm kind of at an impasse here, crossroads, whatever you want to say. I'm not really sure what to do about the exhaust. I did find, I think, is the mate to this one last night on eBay. I bought it. Won't know for a couple days until it shows up whether it's the actual one or not. But the theory is, at some point today, I'm going to take a few of these connections I have laying around, and I'm going to try to see whether I need 45s or I need 90s and elbows to make this all match up, because as I was saying, it's coming out in the wrong places just by a little bit. So, but we didn't design the boat, we just built it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bracket put on real quick, get the oil filter off from hanging, and we'll start tinkering around with the exhaust. Now that looks a lot better, especially with these shorter risers. That thing would have been sticking up above them. So, and where it is right now, it gives about an inch before, two, about an inch and a half before it hits the manifold. So you could use a taller oil filter if you needed to. But either way, it's fine the way it is, and looks so much better.
Let's take a look at the blue skies, demons here. On the inside, and it's alright, yeah. I've learned to live with the white lies, and it's all good. Learned to live with the white lines, I don't mind, 'cause it's all wrapped up in a little bit of honey.
So here we are. Came out here to do some measurements, really. That was my main goal for the day. We ended up doing the lines for the cooling system. Cut them, then recut them, then recut them, then recut them, twisted them, cut them again, twisted them. You know, trying to get them to get the right arc back and forth. And I think it worked out pretty well. So we're good with those. We got the carburetor installed, hooked up to the linkage. Not really sure about that right now. Won't know until I go to use the shifter and see if the linkage is right. So that'll be we'll see in the future here. We got electric to the choke. We've got it fed with a feeding tube of gasoline coming from the fuel pump. and the PCV valve is installed. Started off pretty small, man, and I'm telling you what, that really packed in there really good once you started adding all the features like exhaust and stuff like that. Another thing we got to over here was we shortened our oil lines, and I love these quick connects. That's just for that reason. In the past I had an issue where the remote had to be changed after the fact. It was set up for something else and then it had to be changed after the fact, and I got a couple quick connects and just extended the lines. Instead of taking it all apart and it was already in a boat, it was like, yeah, this is going to be a nightmare to do that. And it cost $60, over $30 a fitting, but at the time that $60 was well spent. But we shortened these guys because, one, it was running into the carburetor linkage, and two, it was hitting the steering pivot down here, and you know, it just bounce against that. Even with this conduit on the outside of it, it was still going to take a beating. So we did away with about 2.5, maybe 3 inches, and yeah, we were real close. I mean, if it wouldn't hit the carburetor, it would have been fine. You know, I would have stretched it out over here and tied it off someplace so it wouldn't hit the steering. But since we got to shorten it anyway, we might as well make it short enough for everything. So we did exactly that. So right now, as far as I know, knock on fiberglass here, everything is done. Everything except for the exhaust. And it should be pretty much turnkey ready, except for, you know, setting timing and stuff like that. So timing's never been set, so you know there's going to be something, and hopefully we have timing in the MSD box. Cross my fingers, is 100% ready to go. And last but not least, we did get to measuring for our exhaust. Like we started the day with the idea of how we're going to do it. Kind of works perfectly in this situation, but I still need to get the other exhaust riser to make sure it matches that one, and I also need to make some orders and get some pieces before we can do anything. But right now, all I've got left is a box and a half of stuff. Most what's in that box goes in after the upholstery, like the shifter knob, things like that, a fire extinguisher. I pretty much figure I'll be installing that when I get the seat in, so I know exactly where it sits next to the seat, so it probably won't be installed until the upholstery is. That's like 2 things in that box. The other little box that I have is just exhaust tips and everything that goes with that, you know, the riser elbows and things like that. So we've cut back quite considerably. There's only one last major piece, and that's the outdrive, and it's sitting right there. Once it's gone, wow, that's a lot of stuff out of the garage. But once again, the mosquitoes are out and they're looking for blood, because I left some all over the place on here, so it's got a good blood scent going on. And we will see you tomorrow. Welcome to another day that we won't bore you with. Just spent the last 5 hours or so cleaning, straightening, putting things away. I mean, look at my bench. Yeah, there's nothing even in the collection of spare leftover screws, nuts, and everything else in the world. So when we see you tomorrow, we'll be able to start off with a clean shop. See ya. Welcome to another hot, sticky day. Just got some shipments in. One, it's a 3-pack of spark plugs that matches the other 7 that are in there now. I don't know what's up with these R44Ts, but they seem to be getting rarer and rarer as hen's teeth. I'm sure they've replaced it and I'm buying old stock, but I need one and I want it to match. So we spent the $8. We'll have 2 extra, and we'll have a matching set. Postal Service delivered a box. It's their newest service. It's all pre-opened. Yeah, I haven't touched this. I just picked it up off my front porch like this. My mail lady's really nice, so I don't think she did that. But it did come in this way, and I do see what was supposed to be in here that was supposed to be shipped. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I guess that's the lucky thing, because if anything small is in that box, there was no longer in that box. Picked up a set of hose clamps, the nice ones, you know, the T-clamps. They work a whole lot better than hose clamps when it comes to exhaust, because you're supposed to have like 2 hose clamps per piece, I mean per end. Yeah, that's a whole lot of hose clamps, and these things work so much better, and they just even look better. Got me a big 4-foot section of 4-inch stainless steel pipe. Yeah, I'm not fooling around with any of this fiberglass stuff. Nope. This is going to be nice, smooth stainless steel pipe. And one last thing is in this box, which hopefully they didn't send anything that's personal. And it should be, because I didn't remember ordering anything personal, but you never know. Here we are. Boots. Yeah, I feel a little softer than they always normally do, but 4-ply, high temp, blah 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 blah, whatever. That's basically, I mean, that's the same as these, and I've been using these over here on everything for the last 30 years. We got a bunch of parts and a brand new hole saw for another $29 for one-time use, but I really didn't want to take out the jigsaw and the sawzall and all that and try to hack this out and have a mistake. All that sawzall has to do is pop out one time and hit the side of that paint, and I'm done. So that's where we're at. We have a new tool, we have a bunch of new parts, and we got to make them all work. Don't need this anymore. As you can see, we were doing some measuring, and then we stopped for a little while, looked at it, did a whole lot more measuring, then looked at it some more, then did some more measuring. I just, you know, this is a one-time thing. You put that drill bit on that paint and it's done. That's where the hole's going to be no matter what, unless I plan on getting out fiberglass and Bondo and paint for that matter. But when pretty much anything was done on a transom, it was done with a laser, meaning I lasered the 2 ends there for the bottom paint, lasered to get the transom shield perfectly level and straight. So I'm kind of going off of what's already here. I mean, as you can see up here, you know, you can measure off of this, but there's a little chunk missing out of here. You know, I mean, is that the right side? Does it sit a little high, a little proud on that side compared to that side? So it's not really good to work off of things like this, because 1, there's already an arc in it, and 2, like I said, one could be a little different from the other. So I'm going off of my lines like I originally done, so I'm working off my quote-unquote bottom paint, and I got my measurements up, so they should be level with that. And then I worked off of the center of the drive, but made sure, you know, I used my square lines here and made sure they came out exactly the same off of each side of the drive. Now, the reason I did measurements inside is because I don't want it to end up, you know, behind the seat. So it was just generals. I had to find those, you know, and had to find what numbers, which was basically 5 inches down and 8.5 inches across from this little bolt right here. So that gave me my general idea where it needed to be, and it would work on both sides. And then I got the numbers, or the points, to match perfectly. Fingers are crossed. So with that done, there really is only one thing left to do, and at the moment I'm chicken shit, so I'm just going to stare at it for a few more minutes and make sure I, you know, don't think it's crooked, because even the boat is sitting a little bit crooked right now. This side tire over here is a little lower than this side, and I need all new tires on here, so I'm not really worried about pumping them up and all that good stuff. I think the next thing is to get out the hole saw.
Feel alone, you're not alone, no, no. You feel alone. You see, you're not alone, no. don't.
And there we have 2 holes with 2 messes to follow. I got most of it up now with the vacuum cleaner, so everything's good. Did catch my drill on fire. I figured that thing was on its way out before I even started this project, and yet it hung out this long, and it got almost to the end, and I needed to use it on the inside because of the 1/2 inch is too big to use on the inside. So I burned it as long as I could go, and then I got it out here and I set it down for a few seconds, and I thought I'd let it cool off, and went to pick it back up, hit the switch. It took off like it was normal, and then it just immediately stopped, went vroom, and fire started shooting out the back of it. So I guess that one is done, and we'll have to finish up this stuff with my 1/2 inch, which I'm not a fan of. That thing's a wrist buster, I'll tell you that much. And it also tends to like to break little bits off into hard transoms like we have here. But speaking of hard transom, I want to make sure we keep it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a little resin, and I'm just going to brush it on all these areas here. That's now raw wood. And for sampling, I'm telling you, this thing's pretty darn nice. I mean, there's no voids, there's no nothing. It's solid as solid can be all the way through. And look at the fiberglass on the outside. I mean, that's 1/2 inch thick. That's a lot. I don't even think the transom needed wood except for spacing. Now the inside's about 3/8, maybe a quarter, a little 3/8, but that's fine. I mean, that's a great core, to be honest. You know, you never know, because once you install it, it's there. You know, it's not like you're going to go, okay, let's take it all off and see what happened. But in this case, when you actually get to drill holes through it and take core samples, I now have a core sample out of the transom here, and including the fill hole there, you know, for the flushing system. There really isn't much more wood on the transom to actually core sample. It's all good. Now I need to mix up some resin and get that stuff sealed up.
Think you can save me? I don't mind. If you just wanna hate me, it's alright. 'Cause it's all wrapped up in a little bit of honey. And when it's over,
again with this camera making everything look super bright out here. I mean, you can see people have their lights on. It is about dark 30 out here, so we are pretty much done. I didn't expect to get the whole thing put together anyway, because, you know, stuff didn't show up until the afternoon. I didn't show up until the afternoon, so it's about as far as we were going to get anyway. But we did get the holes drilled, and then I mixed up some resin and got a coat on, and did the old trick of putting the resin inside of another cup that was filled with ice. It prevented some of it from kicking off, and after about 20 minutes I was able to come out here and do another coat all the way around with resin again, and then let that kick off. And to seal it up, since I didn't put any wax in it, went ahead and I did my 411 bilge coat on top of that for another couple 3 coats, and everything should be all sealed up and ready to go now. So we'll just have to pick this up again tomorrow, hopefully. It's supposed to rain all day from what we hear, hard too. That's why I went ahead and I plasticed up the holes. I didn't want anything to just, you know, there's screw holes all been drilled, everything like that. I don't need water in that stuff until I get some sealant or something, you know, with screws put in place. And that way, you know, the wood's sealed up at least. So we are going to just leave it sealed up, and we'll come attack it the first chance we get, and we will see you then. Welcome to another day, squirrel. Alright. See ya. Focus, focus, focus. Let's do all that again. Damn. One more time. It is smoking thick. Ugh, that's all garbage. One more time. That's a little draggy out, sucky. Let's try it all over again. No, let's just do it this way. Retake. Let's try it this way. Let's explain that part again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll let this motorcycle go by. The only major piece, I'll have to do some cut work in here. Had to do it all over again. This ain't working at all. Let's start again. And cut.